Hello, very beautiful community. As the Trump administration contemplates bombing Iran, I think there are three important topics of conversation here. One's about the actual consequences of doing that. The second's about the consequences of possible divides in MAGA as a result of that. But the third is what I want to talk to you about today, and that is how bewilderingly incompetent Trump is. And it's important to understand that there are two levels of clown show that we're experiencing. And clown show is a caricatural, hyperbolic word to use, but I'm using it intentionally in two ways. Trump's administration is a clown show in one important respect. Our best, our most responsible, our most informed, our most sophisticated commentary on the Trump administration is also a clown show in one respect, but still a clown show. What do I mean by that? I mean that when I look at people who are just beautifully responsible and I really admire them, who are commenting on the latest development in Bremer, let's say, something really weird is missing. And that's that there's a kind of risk in the way they communicate of over-rationalization of Trump's behavior. Well, there are the reasons for doing that, and here they are, but there are also the reasons for not doing it, and presumably, somehow, the Trump administration and President Trump will be weighing that, hopefully not too incompetently. No, that's not how decision making is happening. We've got to be accurate about the decision making that's happening. We can't pretend that Trump is somebody else. The reason this is happening is that a model of discourse has been normalized about Trump, which basically converts into much more adequate propositions statements that are much less adequate that he makes, right? So Trump could say, we're looking at some very, very big things and tremendous things, and that's it. And then the news report will say, well, Trump's clearly reflecting on significant policy issues, and I suppose we wonder whether they're domestic or foreign policy issues he's referring to. No, that's not what he said. He just said words. So three things need to be understood about his decision-making process right now as we speak. Number one, he doesn't know anything about the Middle East. He doesn't know anything about Iran. He doesn't know anything even about Israel, which he knows a lot, by which I mean he doesn't understand Israeli politics. He is not well informed on the key issues at hand. He is not on top of the key insights he needs to have to grasp what's going on with that country's domestic and foreign policy. Yeah, there's a few things here and there, but by the standards of high-power decision-making, he doesn't know anything. Number one. Number two, he can't learn. He can't read an article because he's not very good at reading. It's challenging for him. That's okay. Some of those brilliant people on earth can't read. But if they're the president of the United States, you'd want them to be confident enough to say, well, I can't read. Let me learn by other means, rather than just pretending that they can read. That's what an absolutely brilliant president with ADHD would do. They'd say, well, I can't read, but I'm just going to absorb things by, just having Speechify read it for me. It's going to be great. He can't learn by any means standardly available to us. He's not going to listen to podcasts. He's not going to read. He's not going to pay systematic attention in meetings. So he doesn't know much, and he has none of the skills necessary to change not knowing much. And then there's a third level here. He doesn't know, he can't learn, and he also can't take advice. Because it is very physically difficult for Trump to expose himself as not knowing something that he is expected to know, which means he is pretty much allergic to asking for advice. He is bad at taking advice, but he can just about do it. But he is atrocious, almost a zero, at asking for advice. Right? He can virtually never do that. Unless it's a very safe situation whereby no sort of gaps in knowledge or gaps in experience on Trump's part could be revealed in the process of him asking for advice. Now, Trump has tried to bypass this by wheeling out Steve Witkoff, who might have all kinds of gifts and talents and might be articulate, but they have roughly in Israel and in Russia viewed him as an incompetent. So Trump hasn't found a good way to bypass his own incapacities. So a very big decision is being made now. And we'll talk about it substantively, but just procedurally, there is no chance that a good decision can be arrived at by Trump himself. He just doesn't have any of the materials necessary to get there. And that's going to keep happening over and over and over again. And it's important for commentators and it's important for journalists to have an adequate procedural understanding of how decision making is made in the Trump administration. It is not good journalism to normalize Trump's incapacities. You have to be accurate and not just sort of formal or decent when you describe what Trump's doing, because being formal and decent often misrepresents reality and is untruthful. But it's scary for institutions and it's scary for individual journalists and also for commentators to say that the decision-making process is inherently a clown show, right? With this man who has a crisis of complete victimization by narcissistic personality disorder, which we systematically discussed a few months on the main channel. Lots enough.